In this tutorial, we will cover the entire process of migrating the gameplay animation sample project into Story Framework and set up the required plugins. We'll also go over correcting and setting up the required inputs inside of the different input mapping contexts that are used inside Story Framework. Alongside that, we will also be altering some systems slightly to all work as intended. So let's jump right into it. Firstly, we will be using a similar workflow to this video that I have up here on the screen. This is by Gorka Games. Be sure to check out his channel and the videos he posts. They are very helpful and informative. So we'll be using some similar practices to migrate over the gameplay animation sample project into Story Framework. So let's go ahead and create a fresh copy of the gameplay animation sample project. We're going to hit create project. I've also gone ahead and created a fresh copy of Story Framework to demonstrate how this process should be done. So firstly, let's go over to edits, into plugins. There's a few plugins we need to enable before we migrate over the gameplay animation sample. So first we're going to look for motion trajectory. Then next we're looking for pose search. Then we're looking for motion warping. So we're going to enable animation and motion warping. Next is chooser. We're going to enable chooser as well. After that, we are looking for the animation locomotion library. Let's enable this one. And finally, we are looking for the deformer graph plugin. Now that all of these are enabled, we can go ahead and restart the project. Now that we have enabled the required plugins, we can close out of Story Framework and open up the gameplay animation sample project that we created earlier. Now that we are inside the game animation sample, we're going to go to the content browser. We're going to find the blueprints folder and we're looking for the sandbox character blueprint. We're going to right click on this and use the default migration tools that Unreal has. So we're going to look for asset actions. We're going to look for migrate. Migrating the character blueprint included in the game animation sample project will also migrate over any dependencies that are required for the character blueprint. So things such as the animations, the plugins that were previously enabled, and so on. Then locate the directory of your Story Framework template and migrate it over into the content folder. Now that that's done, we can close out of this project and open up Story Framework again. Now back in Story Framework, you will notice inside the content browser that we have all the necessary assets required to get the game animation sample up and running in Story Framework. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to locate the Story Framework folder and find the demo game mode. So this is inside the core, example, character and blueprints folder. We're going to find the demo third person game mode. Inside here we're going to swap out the default pawn class to the one we just migrated over. So once that's done, if we go ahead and hit compile and test this out, you'll notice everything seems to be set up correctly, but at the moment we are using Story Framework's default movement. What we want to do is we want to change it to use the game animation sample project's movement and vaulting and climbing systems. So we're going to go ahead and change that now. So firstly, we're going to locate the demo player controller and open this up. Inside here, if we go to the event graph, we can simply delete the entire default movement collapsed graph and hit compile. After this, there's a few things we need to change when it comes to the input mapping contexts. So if we go back over to the core folder inside blueprints, we find the example input and we open up the gameplay IMC. There's a few mappings that we need to change and adjust. So firstly, we're going to find the GDC input mapping context that's used for the motion matching. So let's open this up. Here we're going to copy over some of the inputs that we need. So things such as move, crouch, jump, sprint, walk, and strafe. The rest of the inputs will stay the same, as we're still going to be using Story Framework's camera system and interaction. The only thing that's changing is the movement. So let's go ahead and delete the first movement on the gameplay IMC, since we're not going to be needing it anymore. Same thing with jump. And we are going to add a new mapping. And we're going to set it to the same input as the motion matching IMC. So it's IA_move. Story Framework's inputs have the suffix IA instead of the prefix IA. So that's an easy way to distinguish which input to pick. And then inside here, we're going to copy over all the different inputs for move. So we can simply right click on this and click copy. And for each input, we can just hit paste and create a new one. Now that we've done movement, we can hop onto the walk input. So same thing again. We're going to find the IA_walk. And then same thing again with sprint. And then again with jump. And then crouch. And then finally with strafe. Now that this is all done, we can hit save and test this out again. Our character should be doing the same thing as before. He should be moving around and being able to jump. Perfect, so now we are using the animation sample project's movement functionality. So this includes the vaulting, the climbing, the mantling, and so on. Another input mapping context that we would want to change is the NPC input mapping. So let's go ahead and find this. Same directory as before. So we're looking for the SF_dialog_IMC. And there is an option for NPCs to allow the player to move around while conversating. So we need to change this move input to use the same move input as the gameplay one. This is the one that we just changed to use the motion matching inputs. So let's go ahead and just click on this move_IA and change it to IA_move. We can hit save. Then again, for NPC dialog, we want to go ahead and find the character blueprint that we migrated over earlier. We want to open this and look for the movement input section and the movement input. We're going to right click and search for SF condition. We're looking for the SF movement condition from the dialog manager. And we're simply going to plug this into a branch. So this is to tell the movement functionality when or when not the player can move while talking to an NPC. So we just hit compile and save. And we can test it out with this NPC over here, because this one has the option to allow the player to move around while conversating. So let's talk to him. You can see we can still move around. The next part is optional, but let's go ahead and change some of the camera settings to better suit around the character model and character blueprint that we imported from the animation sample project. So let's go into our content browser. We are going to go from, we're looking for core, example, characters, blueprints, and we're looking for the player controller. Let's open it up and select the camera manager actor component. And let's change some of the third person settings, so we can drop the field of view down to something like 75 and the Z offset to about 73. Let's compile and save. You can test this out. And we can see the camera is situated a little bit better relative to the character model. So that just about covers the entire process of integrating the game animation sample project into Story Framework and getting all the characters and animations set up correctly.
Awesome photo.
If you have any further questions about this or need assistance with anything, please feel free to reach out via Discord, and I'd be more than happy to assist you where I'm able to. Have an amazing rest of your day.